Organ and tissue donation is at the heart of Live On Nebraska's inaugural gift of Life Butterfly Project Art.
45 community organizations from Nebraska and Western Iowa submitted butterfly art, each sharing a message of transformation, hope, and rebirth.
April is National Donate Life Month, and at tonight's Butterfly Project presentation, the Lane Thomas Foundation and Midwest Health Partners butterflies were selected as the top pieces.
The Kearney Police Department was also presented with a special creative award. Kidney transplant recipient Mercedes Aguilar said she felt the power in the art.
Looking at all these butterflies and all the stories, I can't but, admire the people that created them and see that in their hearts, there's also that willingness to support people donating their organs, which is to come to save other people and give them a second chance.
One person can save 8 people's lives. If somebody in our family is sick, especially at the level of organ failure, we want to help them. And so just registering as a donor is essential for those those community members that really need it.
Anyone 16 or older can register as a donor in the state of Nebraska. Last year, more than 42,000 transplants were performed nationwide.